Good evening. Welcome to the town of Delafield. Before the regularly scheduled town board meeting, we have an informational meeting regarding the April 11th referendum. Turn over to the clerk administrator for a minute to kind of talk about why we're here and why we're doing this evening.
So for those of you who are watching from home, what I have up on the screen is our www.townofdelafield.org website. Under the community drop-down, there's a 2026 fire referendum tab. It goes through what the exact language is for the referendum question. The language is mandated by the State Department of Revenue, so we aren't able to change it to make different sense. We're supposed to keep it as is, but essentially we're asking for $450,000 over a 4 budget cycle, so 2027, 2028, 2029, and 2030. On here also is the reasoning for our ask. The Lake Country Fire and Rescue Emergency Response Services, the costs are increasing over the next couple years. And we have a graph here showing when we started with Lake Country in 2021, and the first time we had a referendum in 2024, and then the outline of the referendum increase that we're asking this time around is listed for the 27, 28, 29, and 30.
So the big driver for this is the transition from a paid-on-call volunteer department to a full-time LCFR funded staffing stations, so we don't have to talk about brownout, so we can continue to increase response time. And as you get into the history and the financials of it, our commitment with the latest 7 communities signing the extended IMA to hire the staffing plan as presented by the chief to ensure that the stations are staffed and we don't have brownouts. Our commitment goes to in 29 or 20, if you can scroll to that.
Which one do you want?
Right there. So by 2030, just based on the staffing plan, our commitment to Lake Country Fire and Rescue is going to be about $2.3 million. And if we don't do anything, that's going to eat up about 94% of the town's budget. So that's going to leave very little money left over to continue to, fix our roads, plow our highways, continue with our sheriff's contract at the current level. So the big driver for this is really to be able to have a fully funded fire department. And if we were to do it alone, stand alone, have our own fire department, it would cost us about $3 million or more. And we're going to, pay $2.3 million, and we're going to have the force of 3 or 4 other stations behind us if we get a really big call. We're not going to have to rely on mutual aid. So being part of Lake Country Fire and Rescue is a really good thing for this community. But if this doesn't happen, like I said, by 2030, it's going to eat up 94% of the town's budget. So that's going to leave not a lot of money to continue to do the other things that our residents and constituents ask us for.
So I've heard people ask me why we can't just raise the levy or increase our budget and so forth. We are bound by state statutes that we can only raise our levy according to net new construction. And people get really excited because we have the Wellshire Farm going in, but that's not as much net new construction as people would hope for. We're looking at a 0.571% net new construction, and that's the number that the Department of Revenue is using to help us calculate what our levies will be for the future. So the ask from Lake Country Fire is listed on this webpage for everybody to see, along with the town levy collections from 2024 all the way estimated through 2030. We do have a chart here for those who like it visually, just indicating that the Lake Country Fire budget is increasing higher than what our levy would allow. We do have some math listed on here. We went through how many taxable parcels we have. We talked about the total assessed value of the parcels and why it was a $450,000 ask. if you do look at the Lake Country Fire requests year over year, it's not the same, and we didn't want to confuse people by having, 57,000 this year and 150,000 next time around and so forth. So we looked at the overall increase and basically divided it by 4 to make it easy. That way people can hopefully plan a little bit better for their potential tax bill. We also did a couple of examples on how this could impact someone's taxes. So we used a median home assessed value of $683,000
In the town of Delafield.
in the town of Delafield, based on last year's assessment roll. And the increase for a yes on this referendum would be approximately $121. The average home assessment was $802,000, so the year cost would be $142. And the highest assessed value we have in the town right now is just under $5.1 million. And their 1 year estimated cost for a yes on this referendum question would be $902. We did talk about if the referendum is not approved, we would potentially have to reduce some other contracted services, postpone some road work or other capital projects that we have, do fee increases for licensing and services. We already run on a pretty lean staff. We have 1 full-time person and 2 part-time people in the office and 5 DPW workers. Our garbage and Lake Country Fire, obviously, those are all passed through on the either on the tax bill or through what we.
They're contracted services.
Yeah, for what we do for contracted services. So for planning, engineering, and so forth, we try to have the person who's using those services pay that contracted service outright instead of the town covering the cost. This is not a referendum that has no expiration date. After 2030, the referendum authority would expire. We would have to be, again, fully responsible for what our state levy is and see if there's any changes by 2030 that we would be able to either operate within the levy, adjust other services, or consider a possible future referendum.
My hope is our friends in Madison will fix the funding way we fund public service by 2030. So.
Right. There is a lot of, there's a lot of bills and a lot of proposals out there. Everybody's having similar problems like this, where these individual communities can't afford it by themselves and they want that full coverage. They're committed to their public safety. So that's why we're here for this referendum information session. So.
Are there any questions from the audience? You want to come to the podium and ask your question?
Yeah,
Please.
We got people.
We have people watching on YouTube.
Other people will have the same questions at home. Okay.
Okay, good evening. I'm Marilyn Krause, longtime resident. First of all, did you say 450,000 plus? Something like that?
450,000 a year.
A year, okay, that was my question.
For 4 budget cycles.
That amount for 4 years. I was unclear on that. Thank you. I'm not going to debate the need for eliminating the brownouts and so on. I think you really do need to do that. I know how much frustration there was over that over the last couple of years. Can I assume that there also has been and or will be a look at whether there are options for further consolidation? I know that there are always pluses and minuses, goods and bads about consolidation, but we've had this for 5 years, and we're already at a point where, we're needing to do a referendum because of the levy limits to give what you consider adequate coverage. I can't imagine, unless something would happen with the legislature, that there would be some kind of relief and costs are only going to go up. So is this something that should be considered among a larger area? I hesitate to say region, but other departments within this area?
It's definitely on the table. I just
Okay.
think that there's a misconception that when you consolidate or add more partners that you're going to see these huge cost savings. I think, when you look at what happened in Wauwatosa and West Allis, a lot of their cost savings are coming from, the money that's being thrown around with the innovation grants. And there's that was Robin Voss's baby, and with Robin Voss not returning back to the state legislature, there's questions on how long that innovation money is going to be there. And I know that the chief and I have had discussions that even if we consolidate or add more partners, you're not really going to save a lot of money. You may save a chief, but you're still going to need to have that structure at the stations. So the cost savings that you're going to, perceived cost savings aren't as greater what you would imagine.
I wasn't asking the question in terms of savings as much as having to grow larger to spread the wealth among more, because I doubt that there would be a lot of savings, but could it keep the increases a little bit lower than they would be just within the structure you have now? That would be my question.
It's definitely on the table. I mean,
Great. Okay.
so.
And the other question I had, maybe I missed some information within the minutes and so on more recently. I had pulled some material from the minutes, I think from March, and there were 3 options and so on. 3 options for referendum with corresponding costs per thousand. So you've chosen what you think is the best option. That's what you're putting out for the referendum, and that's what you've been discussing over the last few months.
Yeah, I mean, the option that we chose was the middle-of-the-road option that allowed us to fund our commitment to Lake Country Fire and Rescue, to fund the staffing plan, but also not force us to cut back on the progress that we've been making with, maintaining and fixing our roads, and continuing with our other contracted services, and keeping public safety in mind, ensuring that we had our sheriff's coverage also, because like I said during the presentation, if we do nothing by 2030 with our commitment to Lake Country Fire and Rescue, with fully staffing, ramping them up to get the staffing that they need, it's going to eat up 94% of our budget. That's not going to leave a lot of room to do a lot of other things, the state, we hate to go to referendum. Everybody's got referendum fatigue, but the state legislature and with levy limits, we don't have a lot of options. So it's the one option that we have, and that's why we're having the session tonight, to get people the information, and hopefully people will talk to their friends and neighbors, and direct them to the town website, direct them to the people up here, to get their questions answered. I will stand here and say that we still have one of the lowest mill rates in Waukesha County, and those communities with lower mill rates, they all have a fire fee, so you got to take their mill rates with a grain of salt. So I think keeping it on the levy was the direction that this board felt was the best way to move forward, and was the most equitable and fair thing for the residents of this community.
Thank you for the all the work you've put on it, and for being as proactive as you can. And I like the idea of keeping it within the levy rather than a separate fee. Thank you.
Marilyn, quick question. Being that you did the research and saw the options, and we did discuss it at length at a board as a group, was there an option, just being a seasoned set of eyes that you have too, that resonated more with you for the town? I'm just curious. Did you have we had several options that we chose from?
Not really. I could see the breakdowns and the pros and cons for each, and I thought you might end up in the middle. The numbers tonight are slightly different from what I saw from a few months ago, but I'm not surprised about that. But no, I think you took, as you said, no one likes to have to go to referendum, but we've all seen referendums in other areas where they go to the very top. And it seemed to me like you were deliberately trying to do what you needed to get what you consider good coverage, avoid the brownouts, and still keep the levy as low as you possibly can. And I believe the town levy itself is still in the lower 5 countywide, among more than 100.
Out of 3.
Yeah, right? Yeah. So, okay, so 3. Okay, I was close. But, yeah, and that's been every board since I've lived out here, which is longer than I'd like to admit, has had that approach. And I think it's served us well because we still have a good level of service.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've been very frugal over the years here in the town of Delafield, and there's no doge going on. If everybody, if everybody wants to, look at the town budget, we run very lean. We have 5 people in our highway department.
Right.
We have 1.5 people in our office, and we are trying to be frugal. But public safety is something that when you call 911, you want them to be there. You want them to show up, and you want them to be trained. You want them to be professional. And we have a great thing with Lake Country Fire and Rescue. And unfortunately, when we joined back in 2020, the assumptions in the motto was built that there were still paid on call and volunteer folks. And I think we all knew that that was not a sustainable thing. And in 2022, the chief raised the alarm bells and said, hey, this system isn't working anymore. We need to go to a full-time department. And that's an issue that's happening within the state of Wisconsin and across the nation, that everybody's trying to grapple with this. And the chief and the fire board and the LCFR, there's no doge going on over there. I mean, I think they're running it as frugal and as tight as they can to, make sure that, the taxpayers are getting a good deal. So.
Well, that's really good to know that that's your view on that, too. So, thank you again.
Just a question regarding the other communities in this fire department, as far as Wales and Genesee and City of Delafield and Nashotah and Conemaugh Lake and so forth, Chanequa. Are they in the same situation where they're going to be doing levies, asking for a levy to cover this cost, or what's their, do you know what their situation is?
The other communities like Wales and the City of Delafield, they have a fire fee. So it's like garbage. So they charge a fee to every tax parcel, and that's how they fund it. They don't ask the taxpayers for permission to exceed the limit. It's just like your garbage bill. Lake Country Fire and Rescue sends you a bill, and this is your portion, and then they adjust the fee to pay that.
Okay, so they'll just raise that fee, then the fire fee, then on it to cover this.
Yeah.
They're going to handle it. Okay.
And we've decided that we feel it's best to keep it on the levy, because it's the most equitable way based on your assessed value to pay for your portion of the fire protection.
As opposed to putting a separate line item for the fire, like we
Correct.
have the garbage. Okay, so that's just the decided way. Okay, just clarifying it. Thank you.
I'm Vicki Braden, and I appreciate all the work you've done on this, and I'm coming in kind of late. Could you explain the history of when we went to the Lake Country and how many communities are in it and how it's divided up equitably?
Sure. So the town of Delafield, along with Genesee and Wales, joined Lake Country Fire and Rescue in 2020. Up until that point, it was City of Delafield, Nashotah, and Chanequa. So in 2020, we joined Lake Country Fire and Rescue.
So there's now 6 communities?
There's 7 communities.
70. Okay, 7.
There's 7. Chanequa, Village of Wales, Town of Genesee, Town of Delafield, Neshota, and Oconomowoc. I forgot Oconomowoc, Village of Oconomowoc Lake. So we joined in 2020 during COVID. The chief in 2022 early on started seeing, brownouts, having problems, filling shifts and things with volunteer paid on call. So the fire board had a committee, and they looked at staffing, and they came up with a staffing plan in 22. And at that point, when the staffing plan came out, because we were part of a consolidated department, we were able to, if you're part of a consolidated department, you're able to exceed your levy limits by CPI plus 2% under the state statutes. But in order to add staff, CPI plus 2 wasn't going to cover it. So that's when our friends next door in the city of Delafield started saying, hey, because they felt that CPI plus 2 cap protected them in major increases to fire and EMS and costs. And you can see on this graph, our costs are going to go up. We started, when we joined in 21, we were paying $640,000. And they're steadily going up as we've added staff and added more full-time people. So in 22, 23, 24, we were, arguing about, the funding formula, what's equitable, what's not equitable. We brought the policy forum in. We worked with all 7 partners. The town's portion is 24%, almost 25% of the Lake Country Fire and Rescue.
24.21%.
24.21%. And it's based on, population, equalized value, and call volume. We're second in population, second in call volume, like close top 1 or 2 for equalized value. So that's how it's, divvied up.
And that's always been that way?
Prior to the recent IMA extension, there was there was a fixed portion that went through fixed portion of that, and then there was the values, the equalized value, population, and call volume. But prior to that, we were paying like 22, 23%. So our percentage with the new formula that everybody agreed to went up like 1.5%. And that was okay with me because it ensured that we got the added staff that we needed, because last May, this station was closed 50% of the time. And that really frustrated me, and I was very vocal about that because that put our residents at a disadvantage, and, Marilyn brought up, referendums and fire referendums. The building that we're standing in, passed by 30 votes. So, nobody wants to go to referendum for fire and EMS in this community. But, we went to referendum in 23 for the additional staff. We went for the 14 positions at that time. You need to understand that the thinking of the town board at that time was Western Lakes had a referendum. It had failed badly because they had done kind of what the schools and some other people do. They went and bit off the whole enchilada, so to speak. We said, let's go to the community. Let's ask for those 14 positions, knowing that it's going to take time to get those 14 positions filled and ramped up. And, so, in 23 we went for 14, and knowing that we'd have to come back for those additional positions. So
How many additional since then? You got the 14 and 23, and now?
well, 23 is like the total. It's like 28.
No, she's talking the year 23.
Oh, in 2023, yeah.
And then we,
Michelle will bring it up here.
the whole, what page on the website is that?
It's under transparency.
So, kind of can walk you through everything to do, if you want to call it.
got to where we are today. The Country Fire and the town of Delafield and our 7 partners are not in any situation, any other paid-on-call volunteer agency from Salem.
And no, it's been going on for over 20 years.
So, a lot of credit to this board, to the fire board, to the boards of other communities, because pulled by the horns and said, and then just one other quick thing to dovetail on is when the 2021 funding formula was built, it was built on a backbone of the agency. Prior to then, the town of Delafield. So forward, the ask is that we're going to revamp the whole entire structure. Other communities had added FTE, the way the funding formula was built. But if we're going to fundamentally change the way part of the whole plan.
So do you feel that where the staffing is at is where we will be, or we need to increase incrementally?
So what's going on and what the town has agreed to and the 7 partner communities agreed to. We were 7, 28, 29. Appetite for the
So we're really just catching up.
It's a great way to think of it. All of the communities have benefited.
Long time, a very long time.
You know, and we actually, it's funny, as this whole thing has evolved, I had annual reports from the then city of Delafield Fire Department, which was a year or 2 after the city and the town of Delafield split off. And those documents say, and granted they're written, as the men can no longer do this on their own, and they're going to need more additional. There's a lot of, well, chief, you need that. Adage I use is chief. And that is it. Go and, great, let's talk. And then next year, great, we don't have the money.
Right.
And then the year after,
Right.
and then there's this. Last straw. There was 2. One of our members that was started having head scratching.
And so after 2030, you figure it's just going to be small increments for,
The way the intermunicipal agreement. All at 2.5% increase.
thank you. Thank you for your work on this.
All good.
Okay, so we've got our, we don't have the separate fee for the fire. Let's say this referendum fails, hypothetically. What's the legal authority as far as, could that be implemented, that, separate charge for the fire? Could that be done without a referendum? What statutes allow on that? Let's say it failed. Okay, now what do you do?
Cross that
Can
bridge.
can you go and, can you say, okay, we're gonna do this fee like a garbage thing, or do you have to get a referendum, or what's required then if
I don't believe we need a referendum
you could do that?
to do a fire fee. I just,
You have the legal authority to
Well,
do
that's
it?
a good question, because, I mean, I'm, and as was the opinion of the board when we were discussing this, and again, I believe everyone else on the board were pretty thoroughly against implementing a fire fee. I, again,
Yeah, I
personally feel.
understand you're against it, I'm saying as far
Yeah,
as
no, but I
legal-
mean, but so,
Here's how you
but,
do it.
right, so and because I believe it's a tax, right? It's a tax, and you're just handing down a tax, and
Doing it
so.
without getting a
Right.
authorization from the taxpayer.
And so there are communities that I believe are in court or pending it, or there's threatened lawsuits, or I don't know exactly where the status is on that,
a lot
but
of legal,
back and forth with it. So the official question to that hasn't been, I guess, legally answered. It's being sorted out right now. And, that is something that I'm adamantly opposed to finding out personally.
I mean, well, how did Delafield go that route then? I mean, the city of Delafield, how did they get there?
they went to referendum
Oh, they
in
did, they applied by a
2023 to authorize the fire fee at that point.
Okay.
But you don't have to go to referendum to authorize a fire fee. You asked what happened if this doesn't pass. I think all options are on the table. I mean, I would still like to continue, fixing our roads, but I think, first and foremost, we need to pay our commitment and protect our community. I mean, state statute says we have to provide ambulance service, so we gotta pay Lake Country Fire and Rescue and look at where we can cut costs and where we can't cut costs, and I think all options will be on the table. So
Per the agreement that we have, we're legally obligated, the town of Delafield, to pay that portion.
Right.
We're legally obligated.
Yep. So, I mean, I guess my 2 cents on the whole thing, right? If you want to go from kind of the beginning on what got us here, right? Or way back, right? No one could have foreseen, the impact COVID-19 had to, I mean, everything, but specifically moving off of the, paid on call model got accelerated, right? That seemed to be an understanding that was coming, but it certainly got accelerated from COVID. Even capital investments, right? I mean, there were, I don't remember the apparatus that was quoted, but there was a quote for an apparatus prior to COVID, quote for an apparatus post-COVID, and hundreds of thousands of dollars difference, right? So, and
you place an order for apparatus today, you got to wait
Wait a
3
long
years,
time.
and you hope the price locks, at that point. So,
Long
I
lead
mean, the fact that the paid on call and the volunteerism just collapsed after COVID. I mean, we all hoped that it would continue a lot longer than it did. But between that and the cost of apparatus, and it just everything costs more today, and I don't want to be sitting up here in this chair if there's a problem with fire and EMS or public safety in this community. I think it's too important, just based on my own personal experiences, and just it's too important of a service that this community is required to provide to its people to not pay for it, and you get for what you pay for, and I don't think that the ask is outrageous. I think that we've done a good job to keep the costs in check and in line. And a lot of it is wages and benefits, to have full-time people. But if you look at the training requirements and everything that goes into what these people do, day in and day out,
I mean, I think you're correct, but also it's not, I don't think it's exorbitant. I think it's a heck of a deal, right? I mean, I don't believe that, I don't want to pay more on my tax bill. Nobody does. Nobody wants to pay more on their grocery bill or their gas, like, go to the gas station, pay more. Like, none of that. Nobody wants to do that, and nobody has the ability to vote to do any of those things, right? You show up and you pump your gas, and that's the price, right? You go to the grocery store, that's the price. Everything else, right? We are voting to do. When you talk about, I'm going to stick to the median and average home values, right? You're talking 121 a year for a median home, or 142 a year for an average home assessment. So when I look at, is a somewhere in the $10 to $12 a month value to have, for sure, enough people to stand by to protect not only your most valuable asset that most people own, their home, right? But also be there to respond to the medical or physical issue that you need. I will pay that $10 and $12 more a month for sure, because that I see the value in what is brought to the table when we've got a full-time fire department. And again, I want, if I could vote all my other bills cheaper, for sure, but like when I look at those numbers there and what we get in return, and we're talking in that $10 to $12 a month range, I hope that the rest of the town sees a value that's worth it to protect their assets and their health. So.
well, and I think we've done our due diligence too, looking at just what our commitment is, being part of a consolidated department, versus had we not joined a consolidated department. We'd be in a world of hurt right now if we didn't join Lake Country Fire and Rescue in 2020. And the cost to stand alone, and just the cost of apparatus and the cost of staffing would cost us, like I said, at least $3 million a year. And, we're going to get, the Whale Station, the City of Delafield Station, and the full force of, Lake Country Fire and Rescue if there's a major incident in our community. So we're getting a heck of a deal, and it's a small price to pay, so.
Just saying, you got budgeted to add these personnel, figuring at some kind of cost. Are you confident you'll be able to recruit those people at what we budgeted, do you think? You're
Yeah,
relatively, you'll be able to get the people with.
We've taken all of that into account, and I'm talking to struggling to hire the fifth and sixth one, and they may stay with you for want to recruit. Hire somebody and we have put them through it. That's sunk opportunity cost that all the community's paying. It's about.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Two more questions. The first one is, as a board, are you comfortable with what you described earlier as how you would deal with cost increases going forward? I think you said if it were under 2.5, the board could do it. If it were more than that, you'd need unanimous approval. Are you comfortable with that as a board?
Yeah, I mean, and that's the fire board that would approve that.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're not the fire board's
Right.
made up of a different group. But, you know, I mean, that means, effectively, we've, correct me if I'm wrong, but anticipated the CPI plus 2 in perpetuity. So if it's less than that, then fantastic, but,
Okay. And you're good with being in a situation where you might need something and you've got to get all 7?
Yeah, because I
Oh,
think
I see what you're saying, yes.
I think the biggest hurdle was getting the staffing added.
Okay.
And the fact that we're getting the staffing added, we're getting the 12 people per shift, you know, the people per station. We're good for a while. And hopefully, you know, we can live within the parameters after that point, so.
Okay.
And I think an important piece to emphasize too is that all the communities are equity members in this organization.
We're all owners, yeah.
Right, so we all, obviously as the town, we own a piece of the Lake Country Fire, and so does the city, and so does Genesee and Wales and all the other communities. And so, you know, it's probably an often overlooked piece, but an important piece to consider is that we, as the citizenry of the town, own a piece of Lake Country Fire, the apparatuses and everything else that goes into it. And so making sure that it can be fully staffed and making sure that it can continue a positive culture, and it is a place that recruits coming out want to come and be hired, is an important reason to continue to be able to keep that staffing projection adequate, right? Like where it makes sense, you know, a place where they're not going to be concerned that we are or are not going to fund their paycheck and then they're going to split.
Right. Okay, and then my other question was, I realize all this information is on the website for the town. Is there a way, I think there might be some restrictions on whether a board can actually push for, market it in effect?
That's what we struggle with. We can
Yeah.
only provide information. That's why we appreciate citizens coming like yourself who can do more than just information. They can advocate. We can't advocate.
Can the fire department advocate?
Fire department can't advocate.
Okay, because I think I recall in a previous one, there was literature, there were informational meetings and so on that I think the fire department ran, and I'm just wondering if that will be happening this time too.
I believe some of that stuff is in the works.
Great, okay, thank you.
Any other questions on the informational session? Thank you, everybody, for attending the informational session. I'm going to close the informational session, and I'm going to immediately call the Town of Delafield Board of Supervisor meeting to order for Tuesday, June 23rd. If you're able, and please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you would please call the roll.
Supervisor Mahoney Ogden.
Present.
Supervisor Miller is absent. Supervisor Wolfley.
Present.
Supervisor Berkowitz.
Present.
Chairman Kranek.
Present.
Thank you.
Citizens' comments, public comments from citizens regarding items not on or not on the agenda. The board may not engage in a discussion with the citizens making the comments. Individual presentations are limited to 3 minutes, and citizens shall follow the rules set forth in section 2.04, paren 1, paren D of the town code. Anybody who'd like to make any public comments to the town board? Seeing no public comments, I'm going to close the citizens' comment period and move and look for a motion to approve the minutes from the May 26, 2026 town board meeting.
I wasn't here, so go ahead.
Motion to approve the town board minutes from May 26, 2026.
Second the motion.
Motion is second to approve the minutes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Next item, item 6, approval of vouchers. I'd look for a motion on accounts payable and payroll, please.
Motion to approve check register dated June 23rd, 2026 for checks 69594 through 69610 in the amount of $40,656.23. Payroll check register dated June 5th, 2026, the amount of $17,571.07. Check register dated June 16th, 2026, checks number 69554 through 69593, the amount of $181,823.67. And payroll check register dated June 19th, 2026, in the amount of $16,646.81.
Second the motion.
Motion is second on accounts payable and payroll. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed. Motion passes 4-0. Item 7, communications for discussion, possible action. In the packet is the April 2026 assessor sales reports. Prices aren't going down in the town.
No, they're definitely not. Do you want me to continue putting these reports in here, or do you think there's too much information on here and you'd rather have these in an email?
I like them.
Got it?
It's public record, right? I mean.
It is, but sometimes too public of record can cause people to get unnecessary invoices on behalf of the town that are fake.
Well, we can
So-
talk about maybe redacting some of the information to
Okay.
sanitize it a little bit.
Okay.
Item B, the May 2026 Sheriff's Report is attached in the packet for our review. We thank them for their service. Attached in the packet is also the April 2026 Lake Country Fire and Rescue report. I like calling out
Brownout data.
the brownout data and just where the service is going.
There you go.
Yeah, so in April, 21.8% of the calls for service went to the town of Delafield. 41.7% of the calls went to the city of Delafield, and 15.6% of the calls went to Genesee. Our response time was, in April, 90th percentile response time was just under 10 minutes, 9 minutes and 40 seconds. The NFPA, American Heart Association standards, 8 minutes, and that's what we're shooting to get to. So we're getting there, and hopefully with the staffing plan getting implemented, we'll get there. So we're making good progress. Silvernail resurfacing update, if any. They're continuing to make progress with the stoning operation. They sign up on the Project 501 website to get the updates. But they're making good progress, and the weather's been cooperating. Item E, budget to actual for June.
Just wanted to point out that at the total expenses line at the end, we have, in the middle of the year, we're at 49%, which is exactly where I expect us to be.
Good.
Perfect.
Item F, WTA updates, if any. The next Waukesha County unit meeting is Wednesday, July 29th at the town of McWanago. I'm hoping to get the newly appointed Waukesha County clerk to attend the meeting to talk about election updates for the August and November election. If you're around this Saturday, June 27th, head down to the Pewaukee Lakefront for the Clean Water Festival. Also, in order to stay on top of what's going on at the town, read our minutes and agendas when they're posted, please sign up for the e-Notify. And then also, the town only accepts cash or check. We don't accept credit cards or ACHs. So if you get an email asking for payment, please call the town hall and ask to verify before you send payment.
The Clean Water Festival is just on Saturday. It's part of the Kiwanis Beach Party, but specifically, it's for bring your children, your grandchildren. It's an educational session about, and we've got lots of activities planned for families, as well as activities on the beach and exercise classes and boat rides and learn to ski. But again, from 10 to 2 is the actual educational tent And again, I encourage you to bring your neighbors and tell your kids about it, and your grandchildren and your friends, and come down to the beach.
Thank you. Item 8, unfinished business for discussion and possible action. Item A, the Welshire Farms Development Agreement Phase 3.
So we had this at our last meeting, and a couple things were brought up that we've been discussing with Newman, and we have a representative from Newman
Developments.
Newman Developments here to answer some questions. But last time we talked about construction traffic, we talked about deer management, some of the landscaping, and then lighting. Those are the 4 concerns from the last meeting that we're hoping to discuss this evening.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. Ryan Fritsch with Newman Developments. Yeah, understand that there was a significant conversation on lighting back in May. What I can say is that when we were drafting our data restrictions, this goes back to the time of preliminary plat, which was June or July of 2024. So at the time, the lighting ordinance in town was being contemplated, but it hadn't passed at the time yet. And it did early 2025 after construction had already started. So what we've done since is just incorporated the portions of the ordinance into our deed restrictions, and that is now recorded and enforceable. So happy to answer any specific questions on those. I can say that there's 4 items related to this ordinance. We're in compliance with 3 of the 4 right now. The 4th that's actionable, we'll say, is ensuring that all fixtures are shielded, right? So what we can't do is retroactively enforce it on homes that are occupied, but it is planned for any unoccupied and unbuilt homes to have a shielded fixture on the structures.
Well, Ryan, I appreciate you being here this evening. I'm pretty frustrated, actually, because I went back and watched the YouTube from the June 25th, 2024 meeting where Brian was here, Brian Lingren from Newman Developments. Mm-hmm. And we had a long discussion. If you go to the video, the 1 hour, 50-minute mark approximately, in the condo docks and the residential portion, in the condo docks, you folks specifically remove the dusk to dawn requirement in the condo docks. And this board had a very extensive conversation. It's on YouTube. I recommend everybody go out there and watch there. But we were pretty adamant that we didn't want, dusk to dawn lighting. I mean, that was, we didn't take our crayons, draw a picture or anything, but, like I said, I rewatched the video today, and it was pretty clear that we didn't want what's out there today. And it's my understanding that the way that those condos and homes are developed and wired, if a homeowner wanted to turn off their outside lighting, they can't do that. And I understand safety and lighting, but I think if a reasonable and prudent individual went out there today, they wouldn't think that lighting was necessary. They would think that it's kind of over the top. Because when I drive through other developments in the town or drive through other developments in other municipalities, I feel that, we were adamant about, dusk to dawn. We got the ordinance, passed. Maybe it wasn't as clear as, it was intended, but the thing doesn't need to be lit up dusk to dawn all night long, 24/7, 365. We joked that, what we approved that evening wasn't going to be like if they had put a nursing home there or assisting living facility there. And in hindsight, if there was an assisted living facility there, they'd have to abide by our commercial lighting ordinance, and they'd have to dim their lights, and it wouldn't look like what's there today. So as we move forward and as we move closer to, the neighbors that were the most opposed to this development, we need to be very mindful of being neighborly and address the lighting there, and be conscientious of the lights that we put there. I understand it's a dark field today, and you put a home and you add some lights, it's not going to be like a dark field. But there's a happy medium and a gray area that we need to walk. And what's out there today is not what I or the town intended. And we made that very clear when we approved the subdivision, that we were gonna, ensure that lighting was something that we could enforce, and, along with the landscaping and some of the other things that we could control when this thing was developed. So as we move forward with these future phases, please be mindful of the lighting. And I understand lighting for safety, but like I said, what's out there today is beyond what a reasonable prudent person would think is just for safety.
Yeah, understood. And I think by incorporating shielded fixtures, along with, limiting our foot candles, which we did hire a lighting consultant that was able to confirm that we are beneath the threshold per code. But between that and incorporating the shielded fixtures, I do think it'll be more of the intent that the board had at the time.
Can you comment, though, on, the commitment that you would not be doing dusk to dawn? It certainly looks like it's dusk to dawn whenever I drive by at night, unless it's coincidental that everybody has their lights on. It seems like it's wired that way, that they can't turn them off, which I feel for your residents. They can't even turn their lights off.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case. If residents choose to keep their lights on throughout the evening, then not something we can control.
So it's not, it's not wired dusk to dawn.
I don't believe so.
You're not sure. Okay. I mean, I think we should just go so far as if, either we table it and keep addressing the lighting, or we can approve. And I think I would motion. I don't know if anybody else has any comment. I've got
You need to get an
discussion.
answer. I mean, you deserve
He doesn't
an
know.
answer.
Yeah, well, and he doesn't know.
Let's get an answer. I mean, we don't need the answer today, but let's table it and let's get an answer. So
Yeah, I think we need an answer of whether they're wired for dusk to dawn, and I would ask that future phases, that the residents have an opportunity to have a switch if they want to turn their lights off, and, be mindful of the night sky and their neighbors to turn their lights off.
And I would think that they're wired that way because it'd be silly not to, but let's just get an answer so we can get to the bottom of this.
Yeah, I am fairly confident that's the case.
And so if we need to, I think there was I think the frustrating part is that all of this lighting came down at a time that was when we had a new.
There's a lot of
our clerk
transition.
left, we had we had a new planner. And I think a couple of the items that were originally talked about dusk to dawn, we let them go. I'm feeling that by motioning to approve this, not today, perhaps if we're going to keep looking at it, we need to incorporate no dusk to dawn, unless for American flag, well, that's fine. And we should go back to the 2700 Kelvin. I know we actively talked about that. I remember our previous engineer distinctly talking about, no community should be more than 2700 Kelvin. We've had other local communities next to you that have come forward proactively, making sure their HOA isn't overlighting. So I just think, being that we feel a little bit taken advantage of this, I think I want to put that into anything that we would do to further approve the developer's agreement that lighting would need to be addressed.
Sure, I still think.
Your stages.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, what we're agreeing to, though, is still within the new ordinance.
It is, but we don't have to approve it. I think the issue is still that the shielded, it's great that you got the shielded in, thank you for following that. And Brian did say he'd follow a new lighting ordinance, but because we didn't put dusk to dawn in it, but he said he wouldn't do it, I think we just need to now write it in, because there seems to be some confusion. That anything forward that we would agree to approve, this time, I think we should definitely put in no dusk to dawn, unless it's for the American flag. And I'm actually okay if somebody wants to have low voltage landscape lighting, but what we're seeing now doesn't appear to be. We'll wait for you to get the info in, but maybe it is coincidental.
So motion to table until we can confirm how those homes are wired and further ensure compliance with lighting.
I mean, I'm all good with the compliance, but I'm not, like, the piece as far as, and I guess I don't know off the top of my head, and it's not in this packet, on what our ordinance says about 2700 Kelvins or the Kelvin limit or what, but like.
It doesn't, and I think
Okay.
that's one of those unfortunate
Well,
things that
okay,
happen
but-
during a
but
transition.
we can't.
I think we
I'm
can.
curious to hear if we can require someone to do anything outside of what is on the books of an ordinance, and I would not believe we could.
So the initial conversations with Newman, they indicated that they would not do dusk to dawn. Although that was not in our ordinance, they had agreed to it on the video from whatever date that was.
June
Chairman.
25th, 2024.
Yeah, I'm not.
And we
it's
can
not the-
put that in here, even though it's not an ordinance, but they did not agree to the 2,700. If they chose to say, yes, let's put it in this contract, that would be a mutual agreement, but if they don't agree, we can't force them, if that's what you're asking.
Yes, that's what, I mean, that's
No, we
where-
can't force them, but we
Right.
can ask them.
We can ask, and we can maybe as a group decide. I mean, I know, I distinctly remember, I was going back to my notes, and we have it in there that Tim was talking about that. That was one of the things, and I don't know, I think when it came down to all the transitions, it just didn't make it in.
You are seeing brighter than 2,700 Kelvin, that is your concern?
I did earlier. I actually think, correct me, did you guys go down and change some of the lights out? Because it seems better than it was.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like
Yeah.
the way it used to be, it was like, whoa, I mean, but yet all of a sudden, I mean,
Yeah,
it definitely is better. Again, I think just based on kind of what we've seen, I just think we need to protect ourselves. So if we need to put it in writing, so that we're not, so we at least have something, because it was supposed to have, I do think if we look back in our notes from when Tim was doing the lighting ordinance, that was one of the items that we talked about. I don't know how it didn't make it through. I don't know, Michelle, I know we were doing a little bit of research. How did we?
Yeah, I can get a
skip over that?
history on that for you, but it looks like the board at the time determined that they didn't want to regulate that, and it was taken out. I don't know who, and I don't know what the vote was, but it was part of one of the conversations in 2024.
Okay, I had it in me, and seeing it just makes me think that maybe we should think about it as a board, including it, just so we aren't having this conversation again. Thank you for addressing this shielded. I'm sorry we didn't in the beginning, but thank you for going forward and looking at
Yeah,
that.
and my assumption is that's the work that has taken place since is swapping out the fixtures on the unoccupied units.
And the occupied ones, I mean, they still, they're not shielded, but the lighting, the Kelvin has softened. It's more agreeable. The only thing is that it just looks like it looks like an airplane. It looks like an airplane field because every light's on.
Sure, yeah, and our lighting study determined that the threshold of a 0.2-foot candle was at about 11 and a half feet in front of the homes, which is within the 25-foot setback, so it wouldn't be reaching the property line at that point.
I think just visually, I don't know if you want to share that picture I sent you. I mean, just visually, you look down the street, it just,
Still don't have that
it's not
picture.
even, it's just, yeah, visually, it's just not pleasing. It's just not at all what we thought we were going to be getting to look down and just see, especially because the homes are so close together. Light, and they were all on. Except
Yeah,
maybe if
because
it
when I
wasn't
drive
being
through
built.
other subdivisions, the fixtures that they have in their homes, the light's directed down. It's not directed out. And I think that's the big difference between what we have at Welshire versus what we have in other developments in the communities. So I appreciate you taking the feedback and getting us the answers.
So I have a motion from Chairman Kranick to table the item. Is there a second for that?
Second the motion.
Thanks.
Motion is second to table. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion's tabled 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 9A, presentation by Waukesha County Sheriff's Department regarding e-bikes in the town of Delafield. This is a hot topic in all of our neighboring communities. I open the Waukesha Freeman and I read, every neighboring community is talking about this, so I've asked the Sheriff's Department to come and kind of talk to us about what they're seeing, how they're enforcing it, and then we can decide what our next steps are.
Thank you.
If you could give your name, that'd be great.
Yep, Lieutenant Hoffman with the Sheriff's Department. So what I handed you is the Wisconsin State statute for the electric bikes. So it's fairly new to us as well. Big things to hit on there is the state classifies the electric bikes into 3 classes. So the class 1, there's a picture of the back as well. E-bikes equipped with a motor that provides assistance only when the driver is pedaling and ceases to provide assistance when the bike reaches the speed of 20 miles an hour. Class 2 would be an e-bike that may be powered solely by the motor and is not capable of providing assistance when the bicycle reaches a speed of 20 miles an hour. And then Class 3, e-bike equipped with a motor that provides assistance only when the rider is pedaling and ceases to provide assistance when the bicycle reaches a speed of 28. So the state basically allows them to act as bicycles on the roadway. The only thing is that a 16-year-old may not operate a electric bike that is in a Class 3, but the operators are not required to have a driver's license. The county did approve an ordinance for the county parks and trails that consider Class 1 bicycles to be allowed on the trails. 2 and 3 are not allowed.
So if
But
we
other
see
than
class
that-
2 or 3 bicycles on a Lake Country Trail per se, how is that enforced?
That would be a county ordinance citation, if we got a call from it. They are supposed to be, there should be stickers on the bike near the, bicycle manufacturers are required to display the classification on the bicycle, usually on top of the frame or by the motor. So that's the way to figure out what it is, but, so that would be a citation. But Deputy Stevenson and I looked through the town of Delafield ordinances, we did not find anything for the e-bike. So essentially, they would just follow the bicycle laws, and then if we had a violation, it would go under a county ordinance.
So e-bikes and scooters, I kind of looked at them different. I get e-bikes because they got the pedals. So I always thought the difference was if it didn't have pedals and they're just like little motorbikes, so is that what you're saying these
So
ones are?
anything without pedals would be considered an all-terrain vehicle, so those are not allowed on the trail.
And that's what I feel like we're seeing more of. It's,
Okay.
I mean, the e-bikes, I get it, you know, and I mean, I don't have an issue with the e-bikes. It's what I don't feel like I'm seeing here. It's this large crux of the little.
The
you know,
scooters.
Little motorcycles, they look like it. They come
Yeah.
whipping down the trail with,
Yeah, and that would fall under the all-terrain vehicle.
so
those
that's
are
not even on, those are not allowed,
That's a
period.
separate category, yep.
Okay, but they aren't allowed on the trails.
No, they're not.
And they're allowed on the road, I'm assuming. Is there an age limit for those?
No, those are only allowed on private property, so those would not be allowed on the roadway.
Oh, okay, so they're everywhere.
So it's essentially like having a dirt bike.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
How about the scooters now, since they're becoming popular and they do 20 plus miles an hour, do they fit into one of these or
No, those would be separate categories. So the e-bike has to have like pedal assisted.
So when you see those things running around the town, whether I'm in the city of Delafield or the town of Delafield, those aren't legal?
Correct.
Okay, interesting. No matter who's, even if you're, well,
So unless
if
you're a
above-
community-
if you're older, can you do them? It's like a motorcycle.
I mean,
Basically, they're like
there
little
has to
mini
be
motorcycles.
certain,
They have to
like-
be street legal.
yeah, so
like,
it
if
has
you're
to have like
driving it on
turn
the
signals,
road
horn, all that,
Yep.
then you'd have to have a motorcycle license.
And have to have a plate
a
on it.
license.
It would
So-
have to be
yes.
registered through, it would basically be under a motorcycle. So if it's
Oh, okay.
just a kid's dirt bike or like the farms that we have where they're kind of riding around, that's fine because it's on their property. But the second that they'd be on the roadway, it'd be like, okay, hey,
So like a Lime scooter, you need to be in a community that has approved them and would have like their own ordinance or whatever, like that kind of scooter.
Are you like an electric scooter?
Yeah, an electric scooter.
Yeah. So like Lime is a brand, right? Like those are the rental scooters that are like, if you go
those are,
downtown.
like the
oh,
electric ones.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would
So you
assume
go
they have an
downtown
ord-
and they're kind of all over the place, right? Like, so the only reason they work there is because like Milwaukee has approved them to be
Yeah,
on the
I would
streets.
assume they have an ordinance that approves them.
Yeah, all right.
So we should probably, since they're illegal and they're all over the place anyhow, I don't know what other communities are doing. Do we even have anything on our website? Should we maybe just pass it along? We should communicate that, what these rules are, especially just because we are seeing so many of the I'm calling them motorcycles that are everywhere.
I haven't seen any.
I passed one on the way here. Guy was going faster than my truck.
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say,
So-
I was.
And he was like 50 too, so it's not just like a 12-year-old. Yeah.
I've seen them on the trail, like, to the point that I really, I could have died. That's how fast it went.
But
by
his,
me.
I mean, this would,
And it was on the bike path, and it was it was a motor, it was like a dirt bike. It just, I mean, it came out of nowhere and went so fast by me, I was shocked. And then I've seen it around, up and down the streets near me. few of them. In fact, I mean, again, kids will be kids, it looks fun, I'm just interested to know.
I mean, I'll tell you what, the couple things that concern me on it is just, one, I mean, one of the, that's not currently, but wife was a nurse for 16 years. I mean, there's some stats saying that basically it's like 25% of all traumatic brain injuries for 16 and under right now are coming from like e-bikes and scooters, right? Because they're going too up on them, no helmets, all that fun stuff. So, and then in my world, in my professional world, the amount of vehicles versus scooters and vehicles versus e-bikes incidences are rapidly expanding. So, because what'll happen is they'll be on a sidewalk with them.
Well, they just move so quick out of your periphery, and they just come up on you so
Well,
quick
right.
you don't
Well,
see them.
so if you're looking to pull out of a driveway, and you're looking for traffic to be on the road, and if you're looking left for traffic coming this way, and a 30-mile-an-hour e-bike is coming from your right on a sidewalk, that's where you're getting like a large amount of increases of
I could
incidences
even
with that
see
stuff. So.
a right-hand turn and coming up behind.
Right. So, I mean, I think it's coming to a head. I mean, do we need to do anything about it? I don't know. It's certainly, I think it's an awareness thing that it's like whatever we can do for awareness, whatever we can do for, especially when you've got, the bike path, definitely there's plenty of people that are running. I don't know because I don't see the frames of the bike, but they're moving, right?
You might not know this. Is there literature that the bike manufacturers have to provide to their customers so they know where they fit in here? Or no, the customer might not even know what they're buying?
Yeah, I'm not sure because I don't know what other states allow, so I don't know what they classify each.
And it would probably be
Bike.
dependent on each.
But there is something that says class 1, 2, or 3 on the e-bike.
Yeah.
For our, like.
Just in
state, that's
our
what it is.
state, though.
Because that's how.
No, the manufacturer.
Well, yeah, I guess,
The-
yeah, I don't know if.
Coming
it's-
from
It's
the
like how
manufacturer.
fast the bike can go.
Okay.
But like the motor will cut out essentially, it's like it hits 20, the motor's like, yep, I'm out, I'm not doing anything anymore.
Okay.
So then in order to go faster than that, they'd have to be like going down a hill or like pedaling like.
Because we get
getting
people that want to
chased or
insure
something,
them,
but-
and when they get over a threshold, we can't insure it as a bike. It's got to go as a moped.
Okay, interesting.
So,
And I can't confirm, but I had heard that the city of Waukesha was looking at making ordinances.
Yeah, the city of Waukesha, the village of Heartland is looking at one. I think the city of Delafield is looking at it one, so
Yeah, they're fairly new and
it's
popping up everywhere.
definitely a hot topic, and, like Supervisor Wolfley said, there's the insurance aspect of it. There's definitely the, emergency medicine side of things, and I just think that we need to try to stay in front of it the best we can to make sure that,
yeah, I mean, you don't buy a kid a scooter like that goes 20 miles an hour. You don't think they're going to end up with a traumatic brain injury, right? Like, because the scooter I had was foot powered, right? So
exactly.
right?
Pushing pretty hard to get 20 miles an hour.
Right.
The average speed pedaling a bike is probably, for a kid, 12 miles an hour, on average.
Yeah.
And I
So-
just prayed in my rosary group for a dad who killed his son on one. So just, it's something we need to not have happen in the town of Delafield, and what can we do to communicate?
I can put this information on our website as it is right now, and we can monitor some of these other communities that are passing ordinances to see if it'd be something we are interested in at a later date.
Yeah, I think we need to post it on the website, and I think we need to reach out to our neighboring communities and, possibly try to mirror or work with what they're discussing.
Well, being that our Lake Country Trail goes into the other communities, and I've seen them, and I'd be just interested, you're right, to see what they're doing in the city. 'Cause I've definitely seen them a lot in the city too, on the trail.
You want the county one too?
If that's a.
And my only change is just that I feel like this sheet is interesting, but it's not really addressing what I'm seeing a lot, and that's these little, basically,
Scooters.
dirt bikes or scooters. What's the name? You know what I'm talking about?
If you're talking like stand on a flat platform
Well,
or like a bike with no
both.
pedals?
I'm seeing
There's both.
it stand on the platform, but but I'm also seeing just I call them like little dirt bikes.
Any dirt bike.
Yeah,
Well,
which
they're
look like
battery
great
powered.
fun if I was a kid too. I just feel that, you're right, it's an accident waiting to happen.
I mean, you guys patrol on E, effectively at the top of the hill by Nag, right? I mean, I see you guys parked there. I don't know if it's specifically either of you, but on
Maple
on
Avenue?
Maple, right by the golf course. I mean, I don't know if that's a spot where, if there's a spot there where also as you're watching for speeding, if you see someone pop out of the trail on a electric bike or a scooter, is worth
Saw a
a
handful of them the other day.
light them up enough to say, hey, you can't do that here. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if it was like a dirt bike like that, we could. The problem is if it's a regular bicycle, like if we don't know what the class is right away, we can't just stop to say, what is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a reason.
Probable
to be like, hey,
cause.
you have to stay here so I can figure it out. It's,
Yep.
And this
I
is
kinda
being
have to
addressed as
know.
well in all of our roll calls, so all the deputies have seen it, so they're aware.
All right. Well, great.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Item B, consideration of possible action on amendments to the Town of Delafield Municipal Code to conform with the 2025 Wisconsin Act 188 regarding competitive bidding thresholds.
So we were informed by our town attorney that there had been some changes in the statute, and I just wanted basically to make you aware of the changes, and that would be bringing possible ordinance repeal and recreates to you that incorporates some of these items. We are just not ready to bring that to you, but I just wanted to make you aware that it was happening. I'm not looking for any action tonight on this one.
Just for information.
Yeah.
More will be coming.
I'm assuming just we're gonna be aligning our ordinance to what the state is changing to.
Correct.
Okay.
At a
Wonderful.
later date. It's more confusing than I originally thought. So, gonna make sure we're good. Yeah.
Sure.
Item C, consideration of an ordinance amending Chapter 14 entitled Building and Mechanical Code of the Town of Delafield Municipal Code to require a bond prior to the issuance of a building permit.
So we had some issues in the Phase 1 of Welshire where the order of operations were such that they poured the concrete, I don't know, flares, I'm not good with the terminology, on either side of the driveway before they started constructing the house, so that when the big trucks would hit these concrete areas, they would chip them and have them fall apart. And they weren't fixing them before they were going to pour the final lift on the road. And to repair both sides of the driveway is approximately $3,500. In other subdivisions where this similar type of thing has occurred, we end up cutting into our new road within a 5-year period of time to fix this curb, and potentially even portions of the driveway that are in the right-of-way. So the town attorney has indicated that we can require these developers to put bond money towards these types of issues. Hopefully, they would correct the order of operations themselves. But if they don't, and we need to fall back on something, we've been taking it out of our own budget instead of putting it on as a responsibility of the developer. So the example ordinance that's in here says $1,000. We asked some of the construction workers in that subdivision how much just the curb on either side of the driveway would cost, and they said $3,500, not including the driveway. So we're actually hoping to bump that $1,000 up to $7,000 for a bond per driveway. So I'm looking for approval of an ordinance to add this section into the building and mechanical code with the change that it goes from 1,000 to 7,000. If it looks really
It's the
nice.
developer or the builder? So they're getting, they would have to
so-
put this in before they get their building permit.
builder.
Yeah,
Wouldn't it be
the builder, sorry,
the
it's the
builder.
builder.
Okay, yeah, you said, so
Yeah,
I'm saying when you said
yeah.
developer, I'm like, that's the builder, okay.
Because I'm connecting this with what's happening in Newman right now, their
Right.
different entities are slightly confusing.
So I think this is good, I'm all for it. and I
Any
think-
reason we don't want to make it more?
We can't make it more than the actual cost of the repair, and we believe that 7,000 would be probably an
Okay.
average, so.
I mean, I guess the only reason I ask is in writing bonds.
Yes.
I mean, the cost difference for $10,000 is
Right.
going to be pennies.
Okay, I mean, we can do that if you
You know,
want.
so, well, I mean, I guess I don't want, I don't want to take us astray of
Right.
state regulations or anything, but
We haven't had to repair one ourselves yet. So if we did take it to $10,000 and we find out that there's a pattern of less than 10,000, we can come back and reduce that amount in a future ordinance.
Yeah, I guess if you're chasing building construction costs every time you're doing construction, I feel like, you won't find out you need to have increased the bond amount until
Right.
it's happened, and at that point, it's too late. And if it's 3,500 now and 7,500 is a buffer, I'm telling you, the difference in
not
10 grand
yeah.
is pennies or nothing.
We did not factor in the cost of the patchwork on the road side, which could bump it up to 10.
Yeah, because I'm not sure anybody will even issue a bond less than 25 grand.
Sure.
So, but there may be some out there, but I don't know.
10 sounds reasonable.
Yeah, all right.
And again, we can come back and,
So I'd
you
look
know.
for a motion to adopt the ordinance with the bond amount and building permit bond required under item A be $10,000.
Okay, I motion to amend, I motion to pass the ordinance, which would amend Chapter 14, and our bond requirement would be $10,000 and would be issued prior to their building permit.
Second?
Thank you.
Motion is second to adopt the ordinance amending Chapter 14 entitled Building and Mechanical Code with
Oh, for that feedback of the pricing, that makes a lot of sense.
with the bond amount set at $10,000. The motion is second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Item 9D, consideration of a Lake Country Municipal Court resolution filling a vacancy and appointing a municipal court judge. So I attended administrators meeting for the Lake Country Municipal Court 2 weeks ago. And the the operation committee recommended to the administrative committee that they appoint Judge Sonderhaus to fill the term until next April, at which point there would be a regular election for that municipal judgeship. It would technically be a special election, but it would be during the regular April municipal election of next year. So it's just in a resolution to fill the vacancy, appointing Judge Sonderhaus to that position, and all communities that are part of the Lake Country Municipal Court need to adopt it before he can be sworn in.
Motion to approve the appointment of Attorney Ronald J. Sonderhaus to fill the vacancy of the Lake Country Municipal Court.
Motion is second to adopt the resolution for the Lake Country Municipal Court. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Item E, discussion and possible direction regarding deer management strategies in response to deer vehicle collision data in Waukesha County. So, Joe, you know in your day-to-day life that Waukesha County is number one when it comes to deer car collisions. I know as town chair, I get a lot of phone calls from residents who are concerned about the deer eating their landscaping. Obviously, the Lyme disease with the deer the deer ticks. So I put this on the agenda to really make a plea to landowners and people who have huntable lands, homeowners associations, that in order to really get a hold of the deer population in the town, and I understand that the deer don't know if they're in the town of Delafield or the city of Delafield or the village of Heartland or wherever, but I think we need to promote and encourage landowners to look into our town deer management program. We all need to speak with our representatives in Madison and really encourage the state Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources, who ultimately is in charge of managing the deer herd in the state of Wisconsin, to do more to manage the deer herd, including, you know, what they have on the state lands in the town of Delafield. But we really need to encourage folks to get in the deer management program. And I think at some point, we're kind of the pseudo deer committee too, in this community. Maybe talk about sharpshooters or have the DNR come in and talk about other ways that we can manage the deer. So it's on the agenda for us to discuss this evening.
So are we discussing any more, or we're just throwing it out there?
We can just discuss. I
Well,
mean,
you gave the segue of sharpshooters, and I did talk to Michelle a little bit about that. And I recognize and learning from Michelle that, I mean, the negative is it costs money. My question is, can we research, are there any grants available? Is there any funding or anything we could do that would help us fund sharpshooters? That would just be something I know you and I didn't talk about.
mean,
but is there-
There's
DNR has
not
a-
anything specific for
Yeah.
sharpshooters.
The DNR has a program for bow hunting on their lands and open it up to other lands and stuff, which is effectively free.
Right.
But it's not giving money, but, you know, I mean, people whose property butts up to that don't like that, and I can't imagine that people whose property butts up to where a high-powered rifle is taking out deer are probably going to be that thrilled with it either. But I don't know. I mean, I agree. I mean, deer are a problem. They're a lot, but it's also nature, and it ebbs and flows. Right? We didn't see many deer we saw some deer, but we didn't see deer like we see now when I was a kid. We also didn't see turkey and eagles, right? Or cranes, or various other wildlife stuff. You know, I think I question how much we need to put our money into it rather than our efforts into encouraging people to use.
Right now we're not putting any money into it.
Right, but
So
I mean, I think all right, our efforts into much beyond encouraging the DNR to take a better look and homeowners to allow more, right, where they can.
I think either way, whether we do a sharpshooter program or we use our bow through our deer management program, we have to have residents who are willing to let us use their property. On the south side of 94, we have an abundance of farm fields, and people on the south side are more willing to let us hunt on that side. Everybody on the north side, where the largest deer herd is located, at least for the town, we have very few options that will allow us to hunt there. We have been able to secure, I believe it's January, on the Western Lakes Golf Course. We're going to try that out this August. Season starts September 1st and runs through January, but they're only going to let us on there for the 1 month of January.
People bow hunt that section of Nagawicca Park between
They do.
the golf course and the and the boat launch.
They're not pulling many out of there, and the deer are not really over there as much as they are on say, the Wellshire farm or on the north side of the lake. It escapes me, that HOA.
Well, in Lakeside Conservancy.
There it is.
and,
Lakeside Conservancy
I
has
mean,
a huge herd up there.
You know, the town was developed with all this open space and all this great stuff for, you know, that deer love, but then,
Yeah.
you know, the people that live there get frustrated with the deer. And, you know, I think as we talk about this, we need to encourage, places like LPSD that have, vast amount of property on the north side of town to seriously at least sit down and have a conversation with the town.
LPSD has their own deer management program, which I found out, but they only let people within the LPSD district hunt the land, which I want Tom Kep to open it up to our deer management program because we have responsible hunters, but he has not been amiable to that idea.
It's only to clarify,
He says it's the deer management program for LPSD land is
Only if
for
you're paying into
LPSD
LPSD.
district only, but they're not taking enough deer either. We at the town provide our own stands. We always shoot from an elevated position. We've got top tier hunters that we send out first to, establish trust with the homeowner. There's a Wisconsin state statute that says if they allow us to hunt on their land, there's no liability to the owner of the land. We also have a non-liability form that we have our hunters sign in the town, like for the town program. So we're trying to make it really easy for these property owners to not worry about much, but they're just not, like the homeowners associations are not agreeing that the deer need to be removed.
Well, because the problem with the homeowners association is in order to avoid conflict, we are requiring that it needs to be unanimous at the homeowners association. And that's a challenge because there are people who like the deer, and we all like the deer. We just think that
who's requiring it that's unanimous?
the town is, in order for the
Okay,
town.
do we have to?
Well,
Can we change
Well,
that?
so if we're hunting on an outlot, for example, and you shoot the deer's going to run. We would love to have full cooperation from the HOA to allow us to collect carcasses that might have been outside of the outlot area.
So it's just to avoid issues down the road, because if you shoot a deer, it's not going to fall where it's going to run. And, if you have people who love the deer, don't want to have dead deer in their backyard, it's going to be challenging for the hunter to try to recover that. So that's why we're trying to ensure that the entire HOA is on board with us hunting the land. And it sounds like in some of these properties, some of the most vocal opponents in the past have had their entire landscapes decimated by the deer, so they're changing their tune, which is a good thing, so,
So maybe it's time to revisit that.
yes.
The, that parkland between the golf course and the lake, I don't know if that's something or somewhere the DNR would put a stand. But right now, at least from what I can tell, it's guys with makeshift blinds in the woods.
Sure.
Like on the ground, which is probably why they're not getting the deer. Because we chase, little puppy Mater chases deer out of that area plenty when we go for our bike rides. So they're there, but they're, if you walk back there, they've got guys that basically have stacked up like fallen wood for makeshift blinds and.
Well, that's basically because the county won't allow us to put permanent stands there during the season.
Correct.
They make us take the stands down every night if we want to hunt on those lands. So,
So there's the answer.
We've asked
Yeah,
the county
so-
too if we could hunt on their golf course during off-season, and we got really close. But then their legal team determined that they didn't want any sort of hunting on the golf course at all.
So please reach out to the county executive, reach out to our county board supervisors, because there is land and there are opportunities in the town to hunt the deer. So we need to really be as proactive as we can to
We just
to
need
deal
the
with it,
access.
because it's literally like the number one and number two phone call I get from residents in the town, about the deer. And
In our participation over the years, has it been stagnant of either of land available and of hunters, or is it just,
We have an abundance of hunters. We have not enough land.
okay,
Yeah, we have hunters that are willing to go, at any time. We've got a program that they sign up for. They have to take certain training. They have to be part of, they have to go through hunter safety and so forth. Our program is one of the best around, in my personal opinion. So we have very top-tier people.
we just don't
Just
have
need the land.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think we hit on a few areas that maybe we could try to
Yeah, and I would ask that if the deer management head is available to come to the next meeting to give the pitch.
Got it. The DNR, like the DNR person?
Well, our deer management person is really good, and then.
Really
if-
good.
If we can reach out to the DNR to see if they're available too.
When you say our deer management person, can you
Our
clarify?
Town of Delafield Deer Management Director, Chris Kelleher.
Oh, okay,
Yeah. He's a volunteer, he doesn't get paid, and he's very good at what he does.
interesting, okay. I did not know we had such a person.
Item F, discussion and possible action regarding a request to the Public Service Commission of the State of Wisconsin to review power outages by We Energies in the town of Delafield. Been an increase in power outages within the town of Delafield. We all saw our We Energy rates go up, and I would like this body to make a request on behalf of the municipality, and as part of the rate case with Re-Energies to ensure that the lights and the power stay on for what we're paying to We Energies every month in our utility bills. They're not aggressive enough in cutting the trees back, and there's just a host of issues and concerns that I have, and I think that we as a municipality need to make a formal request to the PSC to hold We Energies accountable.
Yeah, I mean, is there a form letter, or do we just need to
You would
make the
direct me to
resolution
do
to
that.
do it? Yeah. I make a motion to direct,
The
Administrator.
town administrator.
I'm getting there. Town Administrator Luke Key to compose a letter to the Public Service Commission to review power outages by We Energies in the town of Delafield.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Announcements, there is no plan commission in July, canceled due to lack of business. Wednesday, July 15th, in the village of Shanekwa is the next Lake Country Fire and Rescue Board meeting. On Tuesday, July 28th, at 6:30, we're going to hold another referendum information session, and then the town board regular meeting will immediately follow that information session on the 28th of July. And then on Wednesday, the 29th, will be the next Waukesha County Towns Association Waukesha County Unit meeting at the town of McGuanago.
I think when we listen to it, let's just make sure, the chief had, some great information. Nice job, too, presenting, Chair. But let's just make sure we can hear him and for the future
My
meeting.
husband was watching, he said he couldn't really hear him.
Yeah, I think so. I think just
Yeah.
because it's good. I think that people hear from him, especially because, as we talked about, he can actually, promote it.
Right.
So I think it'd probably be best to put him on a microphone,
I'll
whether
see
it's there or here. or
what
one of our
AI can
microphones.
catch from his voice. Hopefully we can get something from tonight.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion second to adjourn, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, we are adjourned.
8:08.